Alrighty guys, welcome back to another video, and in this tutorial I'm going to start teaching you guys about something called intents. Now an intent is essentially how you can have one activity launch another activity. In other words, what I'm trying to say is it's how you can have your app switch screens. Because most of the apps you design, it's going to be more than one screen or more than one activity, and the way you switch between them is called an intent. And there are different types of intents, but I'll cover everything in just a few tutorials. So for this application name, I'll name it like intent example. Why not do that? So intent example, next, and I'm switching back to API 8. Make sure we have all the devices covered, since this is actually one of the core things that you need every single phone to be compatible with it. And we'll just start with a blank activity, but of course we're eventually going to be creating another one because that's the point of this tutorial, to learn how to transition between the two. So click next, and I'm going to make one activity named apples, and I'm going to make another activity named bacon, and we're going to be switching between the two. So I kind of like naming that because A and B, I don't know, it's kind of easy. It's better than just naming something A. Alright, so I'm going to name the first one apples and finish this up. Alright, very nice, very nice. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is get rid of that text view, and actually go ahead and select your relative layout, and let's make sure that this screen looks a lot different than the bacon screen. So I will say that this is a green apple, so I'm going to change the background of my relative layout to 009900. Make sure you have that pound sign in front of it and hit enter. I actually like this color green. I use it on my website a lot. So we'll say that this is the green apple activity, and just so we are clear, drag a large text out front there and just set the text of this to apples and hit enter. Now of course we need something that the user can do to say, okay, whenever I do this, I'm going to switch to another activity. And for this, we might as well just use a real quick button because it's the easiest thing to do. Let me just position this stuff a little bit prettier. Alright, so this button will change the text of it to go to bacon. Alright, and actually let me get rid of this extra crap so we have some more room. Alright, so now what I should probably do is change the IDs of this. Alright, so the ID of this can just be like apples text. And the button, we'll just give it an ID of apples button. So pretty simple. We made a real quick activity, just has some text saying what activity we're on, and eventually whenever we click this, what's going to happen is the user is going to switch activities. However, for that to be possible, we actually need to hop over to our source code view, and instead of just going in our class and making a huge big listener, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add one more element to this, or one more attribute to this button element. So if I go to Android, on click, then remember you can write something on here like on click, and then you just make an on click method right here, and you don't have to make a listener or anything like that. So now we can just make this method eventually and easily listen for button clicks. I don't know, it's like the really lazy way, but it works. So this activity is looking good right now, so let's go ahead and make that bacon activity, and if you want you can fix your little string resource little warnings, but I'm not really worried about it. Alright, so now we need a bacon activity. So in order to do that, remember, just go to your Java folder right here, and in that main package where your apples Java file is, just right click it and select new activity blank activity, pretty much adding another activity to our project. So I'm just going to name this one bacon, and make sure that you don't have the launcher activity selected, because remember our apples one is the very first one that we want to appear. This is just going to be an extra one. So hit finish, and let me organize everything. Alright, So now we have the apples, Java, bacon, Java, apples activity already designed. Now let's go ahead and design the bacon activity. So delete that text view right there. And for the background of bacon, I happen to know that the color of bacon is 72231F. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the color of bacon. This is actually the first thing I learned about computers. Before I even learned to turn on my computer, I learned the hex color of bacon. So now you do too. Alright, so let's drag just some text on the screen, and let's change this text to bacon, just so we know what activity we're on, in case, I don't know, maybe someone's colorblind or something. Now, just so I don't forget, I'm going to change the ID to bacon text. And of course, what we can do is we can add a button as well. Plop that baby in the center and change the ID to bacon button. And let me change the text for that button too. Actually, I'll just leave it the same, since I'm going to be teaching you guys how to click this button and open up the bacon activity, and it's going to be the same. You can click this button and go back, but once you guys know how to do one, I'm not going to reteach the same thing over and over again. So, alright. Now that we got that taken care of, what we can do is, just so you guys don't forget, is let me go to my Apple design source code, or the XML file, and I'm just going to add that on click to that bacon button too. And that's just so if you guys ever want to be able to click this and switch back, you can. Alright, so looking good. We have two activities. Switch those both to design view. Make sure you have an ID, Apple text and Apple button, bacon text and bacon button, and once you have your designs ready, you're ready to start writing code.